thinking that, there was this phase where we had this kind of like African PhD students, that's the one that are really now driving water and sanitation in their own countries or even at the global level. I thinking of Dulai, of Alidou. And somehow this was the product of also more exchange at ETH level. Where ETH was also having PhD scholarships basically for African students, APFL especially. And nowadays, somehow I have the feeling that this link is missing, and if we want to really reinforce capacities in our partner countries, I don't see it happening anymore.
Well, I told you that at one time we were thinking to have courses for water supply and sanitation for people in developing countries. And actually, because of language reasons mainly, we said no, we shouldn't do that. And the ones who did it was actually APFL. They had this close collaboration with Ouagadougou, and you're absolutely right. Dulai is a result of that, and others, and Halidou as well, others as well. But I also forgot to say that now with MOOCs, this whole thing changed tremendously. But how you can, it was never such that we had close, for me it was always a big problem. We could not have PhD students because we had no professorship at Eawag. And it was difficult to convince people at Eawag, especially engineers, professors, to get involved in this shit stuff, And so that was really one of the big problems.
And NCCR North-South was, of course, a big opportunity.
Well, NCCR, I should have told about that, but NCCR was a big opportunity. NCCR was a big collaboration between research institutions in the north, in Switzerland, from different disciplines and different subjects, and in the south. And this was funded by SDC and the Swiss National Science Foundation. SDC funded the part in the north, and SDC the Science SNF funded in the north, and SDC funded in the south. And that was actually a big start, that we really could have then PhD students. But do you also think, Christoph, that I thought this is much better now related to?
No. It's really difficult for people to get scholarships from Africa. I think it's harder today than it was back then.
Is that right? Okay. Well, I think the reason why it worked before is because SDC was funding this university in Ouagadougou. That was this collaboration between Ouagadougou and APFL. That's why it worked. But you would have to more talk with SDC about that. I have no answer to this.
We talked with them, and their priority in education is with primary school level. They don't see why they shouldn't put money in higher degrees and higher education.
And what about Gates Foundation?
That's more promising. I think Liz had a talk with Dulai, and he said, yeah, but education is not our priority. We do other things.
Yeah, it's.
I have another question. If I look at the timeline that you showed, I think one thing that becomes apparent is that we stick to the same research groups since almost 3 decades. And I think that's a big quality, and that's a huge difference if you look at other research institutions who hop on any new trend coming their way, climate change.
I think that's a very, very important point, and if I would have time, I would have talked more about this. I think one of our main points that we always were very much aware of, and first of all, we didn't want to grow too fast. And secondly, this networking that I was talking about, especially with development agencies, funding agencies, that allowed us to be very close to the problems or how people conceive the problems. And from very early on, we got funded by SDC in these 3-year cycles, which is still going on today. And so I think because of that, and that I'm very grateful to Eawag for that, because we got always a ground funding by Eawag, which allowed us to always do the first steps. So we were never, and I think Martin and the two Martins can confirm that, we were never running after money. We always decided what we feel are very important issues. We worked on it a little bit, and then we always could convince people to fund. You know, we got fund from SDC, but we got from World Bank UNDP, we got fund from GIZ, but only because we had a core, and we were always concentrating on a few issues. And then with that, so I know many organizations who were just running after the money, where, you know, and that changed, and then they worked on this, and then there was money on energy, and I think that was one of the successes. Why it's still and the slow growth is important, because the whole thing is quality control. You have to, and that's my experience. If you do good work, you get the money. I mean, you are the proof now. You know, we at Eawag, we were very soon at 50% core money and soft money, and now you just told me that now it's even 2/3 to 1/3.
1/3.
1/3, 2/3. Michael.
Roland, it was great to kind of see a little bit further into the past. Thanks a lot. I really enjoyed your presentation. Now, I see that a lot of topics still are the same, and a lot of problems are still remaining. And I haven't been involved too much into collaboration with the developing world, but I had the feeling that the donors switch focus many times, and it was not so easy to follow what they're up to. But do you see a change now with the Sustainable Development Goals, that they are kind of long-term? And so I have the impression that they're a little bit more steady. Is this
more steady, you think?
No, I mean that they don't, you know. I had the impression they had an international conference, and they said, now we're going to focus on that one. And so all the international aid was going to one direction. 3 years later they changed, and now I think with the Sustainable Development Goals, they more have kind of the following in certain boundaries. It's
I don't know. It has to be seen, you know, because the SDGs are very new, and I think everybody is trying to orient themselves. I think to your good question, you know, when I was talking about this networking, it was always such that each of these funding organizations had always certain focus, and that was sometimes very erratic, especially in water. You know, for a while Canada was very strong in water and sanitation, suddenly stopped. The Germans, so it really goes, and you cannot predict it. The way, and that's what I would really suggest to you, stay in contact with these organizations and see how they are going. Now with regard to SDGs, and actually I think I have a picture. Yeah, you know, I think the SDGs are really a great opportunity now also for you guys in Sandec. And why? Because finally one really talks no more in silos, and maybe that's a little bit what you are referring to. One looks at the interlinkages. And you know, for instance, when you look at water and sanitation has a close link to the education sector, because you know, if you want to get good schools, you have to good water supply and sanitation. So maybe in that sense, you are right, Michael, that people are getting more aware in different areas that, for instance, water and sanitation is crucial. But I really don't know how these development agencies will now orient themselves. I think the much stronger, and what is a big concern to me, is that the present situation related to refugee situation, that all these organizations are now moving to humanitarian aid. So a lot of the money is going to humanitarian aid, and a lot of the money is going to these countries where the most refugees are coming from. You see it in Switzerland. And I think here, again, I think it's an opportunity, because humanitarian, especially in water and sanitation, humanitarian aid and development has to fit together. That you don't, I think it's a big chance, but one has to be careful that one does not come up with solutions, just short-term solution. One also have to look at the development aspect. But it's very interesting. It's going. I have no idea how I think all what I see, I'm sort of observing a little bit from outside. All these organizations are now very trying to see what they should do with this, and so. But I'm glad that I can show you this. I think you guys in Sandec, you should really also think about how you outreach to other sectors. We should really stop thinking in silos. I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, more or less.
okay.
I mean, from the very little I hear is that I see that a lot of organizations they try to focus on sub goals or sub goals and make this their priority, and it seems that all these sub goals are kind of now divided.
Yes,
in the
and
international community, which forces them to focus a little bit. I don't know for how long they will do that. But
yeah, and for sure, what it means also for you guys, if you do come up with projects or ideas, always refer to these SDGs, and refer that it's not only related to SDG 6, but it's also related to the other SDGs, like very much on water is also this one here, you know. It's so anyway. Other points? Maybe the Martins wants to come up with a real fact.
No, Roland, it was also for me. It was fantastic presentation.
Good, thank you.
But also very touching, you know.
Yes, I must say. Yeah, I must say. For me, it's quite emotional too, and especially when I prepare. And I must tell you guys from Sandec, I mean, it's really emotional for me to see how Sandec developed, and after I left, and I really would like to thank Chris Sorbreng, this also Christoph Lüthi for this. And I think some people sometimes ask me, what is success? Why was Sandec so successful? There is not one reason, but I always said the main reason is the people, and that you guys are working on things that you feel they are important. Even they are huge problems, but I think that's, and the few times I come to Sandec and feel the spirit here, it's just great. Just keep it up.
Those are good closing words.
Okay. Thanks.